Palantir is not your usual surveillance capitalist. It's not Google. Palantir early in its history made a very important decision to basically use the AI technologies that they were developing to service the deep state, as the neo-reactionaries would call it. So like they're completely married to being a capitalist, I guess you would say, who provides their services only to any government bureaucracy that needs a little bit of assistance in profiling populations, whether they be enemy populations or populations at home. It doesn't matter.
And who's really pulling the strings there? Well, it's time to introduce you to the main characters behind this neo-Orwellian takeover, starting with Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel can trace his multi-billion-dollar fortune and his immense levels of power to his founding role in PayPal. Thiel learned about the importance of data and data analysis. You see, it all revolved around one of the biggest problems for PayPal when they were just getting started: fraud. So they needed some Silicon Valley innovation. One new method was the early adoption of what we now know as capture technology. While offering little resistance for regular users, it was a big hurdle for malicious bots and cyber attacks the company had lost so much money to before. But the one that really caught Peter Thiel's interest was called Igor, after a scammer who had taunted the company very early on in its history.
Igor was an internal name used at PayPal during its early days to refer to part of its anti-fraud detection system. Some of the core ideas and personnel behind PayPal's fraud detection infrastructure, including Igor, helped inspire Palantir's development. Igor wasn't a single algorithm or AI model. It was a nickname given to a set of tools and rules-based system. It combined human analysis with automated pattern recognition, allowing employees to track suspicious user behavior. Palantir's founders, especially Peter Thiel and Alex Karp, wanted to take the human-machine symbiosis of Igor and scale it to intelligence, military, and government applications. Imagine you're in charge of keeping your school's online store safe from sneaky people trying to steal stuff. Every day, hundreds of kids are buying things like books, snacks, cool pencils with digital money. Most of the kids are honest, but a few try to cheat the system. Now imagine you have a super smart helper named Igor. Igor watches everything happening in the store, who's buying what, when, how. He remembers things like which students buy lots of stuff really fast, who uses the same email or card on different accounts, who's pretending to be something else. When Igor sees something weird or suspicious, he raises his hand and says, "Hey, this kid just made 10 accounts in 5 minutes and is using the same credit card on all of them. That seems fishy." The human team looks at what's found. Yeah, that's definitely cheating. Let's stop it. No, that's just a kid buying snacks for all of their friends. Totally fine. Before Igor, the store had to catch bad behavior by hand. With Igor, it was faster. It would spot patterns. This is all about patterns when it comes to AI. Patterns can be suggestive, but like they can also just be wrong. You can have false correlations, especially if the data isn't up to it.
PayPal, unlike the entrenched banking world, had access to all of their data in one place. The issue was that they had far too much of it to make sense of. The digital transactions, the endless details of how much was sent and where and who by and the patterns it created, it was all far too much information for a human mind to make sense of. But with PayPal, all of this was in one place, and they had used new technology to make sense of it. But other companies and institutions had multiple databases, lots of different types of information, all separate from each other. And so it was nearly impossible for them to get real accurate information from it all and turn it into an actionable strategy. And that's where Peter Thiel would come in. His idea was relatively simple really. He would use his newfound millions to create the best and most efficient data analysis company on the planet. It wasn't a unique idea at the time of course, but the way that Peter Thiel went about creating it was. While other Silicon Valley types, and even his ex-colleagues in the PayPal mafia stayed within the Silicon Valley bubble, he chose to branch out. His new company Palantir wasn't going to take the same steps that other companies would. Founded in 2003.
What the hell was going on in 2003? Eh? Anyone? War on terror. You could sell a lot of stuff to the deep state if you offer them the antidote to all of your surveillance problems. Like, how do you stop terrorism? Well, you need lots of data, but you also need a way to process that. 2003 is the context. As a result of the failure of the deep state to actually prevent 9/11 from happening, they were looking for total information awareness. They wanted to be able to be aware of all the information out there and connect the dots. And like, lo and behold, along comes Mr. Connector of the Dots himself. Hey, let me offer you some technology.
Who Peter Thiel and his other partners chose as the new CEO for the company, a man called Alex Karp. Instead of a computer science degree from Harvard, he had a philosophy PhD from Frankfurt. But what's most different about him is his politics. Coming from one of the most left-leaning philosophy courses in the world.
Yes, the Frankfurt School. He earned his PhD at the same university as many Frankfurt School thinkers, okay? Alex Karp focused on German philosophy and social theory, especially Adorno, who was a leading figure in the Frankfurt School. Karp's dissertation is reported to have dealt with aggression and political resistance in the work of Adorno. Adorno was one of the main thinkers of the Frankfurt School. A group of philosophers and sociologists who were trying to understand modern societies, even democratic ones, could become cruel, unequal, and authoritarian. Capitalism isn't just about money, it shapes how we think. Adorno believed in the capitalist society turns everything into a product, the commodification of all things, very Marxist concept there. Adorno was haunted by Nazism, and he studied how ordinary people could go along with horrible things. He helped develop the idea of the authoritarian personality, a person who loves order and power and fears difference and change. He argued that modern society trains people to obey, not to question. Education, media, and even families often teach conformity, not critical thinking. How did this influence Alex Karp? Now imagine you're Alex Karp, a guy who spent years reading Adorno's books about power, conformity, and resistance, and you co-found a company that works with governments, spies, and militaries. So this is like the strange world of Alex Karp here, okay? He's like basically a Marxist, almost, in terms of his criticisms of capitalism, and then has gone on to be the CEO and co-founder of an organization that uses AI, and we all know the adage, knowledge is power, who uses AI systems to help governments make effective decisions about controlling and killing people. His ethos is that it's better to be inside the system and trying to manage it in an ethical manner than being outside, yelling at it.
At first, nearly all of Palantir's early capital came from Thiel's own pockets, tens of millions over the first few years. Some of the only outside money came from what would end up being Palantir's most important investor, the CIA. Through their relatively new venture capital arm, In-Q-Tel,
they're venture capitalists. They're just investors, okay? But they call themselves venture capitalists because it sounds sick. And they're just looking for some kids that are trying to develop some software that's going to be the next big thing. So In-Q-Tel is a venture capital firm, but with a twist. It was created by the CIA. Yes, really, it's a non-profit investment firm that finds and funds cutting-edge technologies that the US intelligence community, like the CIA, the NSA, the FBI might need. Basically, the CIA's way of saying, we need better tech fast, let's invest in startups that are building it. Now, let us just go back to one of the reasons why I started all of this in the first place is just like that fucking myth of capitalism. People with money will make the right decisions, and like the government just screws things up. Well, the reason that we have such sophisticated surveillance capitalism technology and the potential to move into a techno-feudal society is because government agencies set up their own venture capitalist firm to fund the private sector, which is a story as old as capitalism itself. The idea that corporations pull themselves up by their bootstraps is outrageous. It was founded in 1999 by the CIA. Mission: make sure US intelligence agencies have access to the most advanced technology is in data analytics, AI and machine learning, cybersecurity, satellite and geospatial tech. That's the birth of Google Earth. That was funded by In-Q-Tel, and was just like, we've created this thing now. We need to kind of spread it around the world. Here, Google, you can have it. Have fun. Just let us know what information that you get from this. Why not just build it in-house? Because the private sector is faster, more innovative, and already building tools like the intelligence community needs. I think it's just more that the private sector isn't bound by regulations like a government agency is, so just pump them up with money, just direct their activity.
The vote of confidence meant Palantir was integrated into the establishment from the very beginning. Meanwhile, they brought an innovative new look at security problems that stunned most of the big names in the industry. These were the companies they were competing with, old names in the military-industrial complex like Lockheed Martin and Bayes Systems. While they had decades of experience and trust, they lacked the new coat of paint that Palantir's Silicon Valley origins gave them. Alex Karp's plan for the day-to-day running of the company pushed them further forward. It was a combination of classic Silicon Valley tech bro gimmicks mixed with ruthless efficiency and a cult-like dedication. Palantir offers famously low salaries, but it's the company culture that keeps people there. They have the same offerings of beanbags and video game consoles that other Silicon Valley companies do. They also encourage incredibly long hours. And interestingly, Alex Karp put no focus whatsoever on sales, sending out the same people who made the software to pitch it to clients. With all of this talk of company culture though, it's really easy to underestimate the power they could theoretically wield. If a company or a government government agency hired them, they were giving them access to all of the data they had. Palantir would feed it into their software and give them solutions they asked for. But did they store the data? What did they learn from it even if they didn't store it? Each client made Palantir's software smarter and made it see clearer. Knowledge is power.
It's a really important point, right? Like, the more clients you take on and you get access to their data sets, like, you know, whether you can't like keep the data or something, but like if you train your AI on certain data sets, it has that training and becomes more intelligent. The machine is learning, and so like the more clients they take on that have big data sets, it gets better. Why go to like the private sector when you can get the government is just a big pool of data?
For the first few years, the company was almost entirely integrated with the CIA. They were both one of its biggest investors and its only client, drip-feeding it contracts as it slowly grew over time. Lots of this early work was based around in-house data management. The CIA already had plenty of information, they just needed someone to link together and consolidate their separate databases. The first real test came with the War on Terror. There's no other arena where data and knowledge is more important than military intelligence. It was especially true in the kinds of wars America was fighting, where they lost far more men and vehicles to roadside IEDs than to enemy soldiers. Knowing who the insurgents were, the location of booby traps and where they were hiding was absolutely key. Palantir offered a solution. Using the data management technology they'd been developing, they could put together all the different sorts of information that the US was gathering. Drone footage, satellite imagery, reports from soldiers on the ground. It was all fed into their algorithms to figure out who was an innocent farmer and who was an enemy combatant. Palantir called it their God Eye view. Palantir had flagged what looked like an Afghan farmer because of one strange detail about him, unlike most other Afghan farmers. He wore a purple hat. Over a period of weeks, an intelligence operative watched his daily movements, learning his patterns. At first, it did just seem too strange to be true, but then after seeing the man lay an IED by the roadside, it became clear he was working as an insurgent and a strike was scheduled. But when the day and opportunity came, something seemed off to the operative. The man they were tracking looked and seemed the same, but he was acting very slightly differently. If it was up to the software, he would have been blown sky high, but the operative knew something was off. Even though he was still wearing the purple hat, he just wasn't acting like he usually did. Just minutes before the final call had to be made, the real target emerged from his home and confirmed the operative's suspicions. The person they'd been tracking the entire day was someone completely different, someone completely innocent. With just moments to spare, the operative called off the strike. And it's these kinds of mistakes that were dangerously common at first. When they rolled back the tape, it turned out that a glitch in the camera system they had used made a different man's hat look purple, and that had caused the confusion. But over time, Palantir's systems got much more sophisticated. Soon, they began being able to accurately predict people's future movements. We know of all of this because someone in the loop talks about it after the fact, but we don't know how many mistakes they usually make or think they made. The data is just obviously not publicly available to us, but it hasn't stopped this technology developing incredibly quickly, and the effects are harder to see. All the mistakes they made and the patterns they saw led to real-world actions. Soldiers almost certainly interrogated innocent civilians because the system flagged them as untrustworthy.
Pretty scary. You feed large amounts of information, makes a call. Like with Igor, they needed people to be there, humans in the loop. This is a massive concept in AI. Do you have humans in the loop or not? Because like there is so much data that's being processed, and AI makes decisions on such a fast and inconceivable basis to the human mind. When do you get humans in the loop?
Hello, human.
Like, look at what we're doing at the moment on YouTube. Like, its algorithm is just making, you know, billions and billions of decisions a second. Not just like what ads to show, what comes up on your feed and your homepage, like all of this sort of stuff. It's making like millions and millions of decisions on individuals, and then you multiply by everybody that's on YouTube right now. And like, you know, you can't have humans in the loop with that sort of stuff. With this, at what point do you insert the human? How many civilians did they interrogate in Afghanistan? Knock their door down, blindfold them, throw them in the back of a truck, take them to some place and just basically torture them based on the recommendations of some algorithm. How many times is that going to happen to people on home soil? What's that going to look like when that's the system that is helping police make decisions on a large scale? If you get profiled wrong, you're fucked. It's where we're going. The AI is not perfect. It's only as good as the data.
An endless series of wars is perfect for Palantir though, as it lets them test out their gadgets in various worlds, optimizing their system to be as deadly and accurate as possible. And today, we can commonly find it in use in Ukraine and Gaza. And now, most of the job is just done by AI, with very little human intervention or decision required. A kind of chatbot-style program provided by Palantir offers up suggestions to commanders like a waiter making recommendations off a wine
It was like that.
We start with a military operator, responsible for monitoring activity within Eastern Europe. They've just received an alert that military equipment is amassed in a field 30 kilometers from friendly forces.
Watch this.
Show me more details. They ask what enemy units are in the region and leverage AI to build out a likely unit formation. What enemy military unit is in the region?
It's like using ChatGPT.
Our operator
for
requests
warfare.
additional imagery to build a more complete picture of the potential enemy equipment on the ground. Task new imagery for this location at a resolution of 1 meter or higher. AIP surfaces the option to deploy a nearby drone to collect video. Task the MQ-9 to capture video of this location. The footage confirms a potential threat. The drone footage shows an enemy T-80 main battle tank. Generate 3 courses of action to target this enemy equipment. The operator uses AIP to generate 3 possible courses of action to target this enemy equipment. Next, they use AIP to automatically send these options up the chain of command. Send these 3 options to my commander for review. As our operator poses questions, the LLM is traversing a data foundation of real-time information, integrated from across public and classified sources. Data is automatically tagged and protected by classification markings, and AIP enforces which parts of the organization the LLM has access to, while respecting an individual's permissions, role, and need to know. For example, the LLM shown cannot access soldier health data by policy.
They have health data on like the soldiers and stuff like that. This is like a computer game. This is the future. And they're like using an LLM, a large language model, to feed information from across the entire defense force to chew all of the information they could possibly have and bring out the best scenarios and actions to take.
Our commander must now assess the 3 possible courses of action generated by AIP to neutralize the buildup of enemy equipment. The system highlights key information for each course of action to assist decision-making, such as the time required and status of supplies. Our commander selects a course of action. Approve course of action 3.
Target with tactical team required 2 hours 15 minutes. Distance to target 39.5 meters. Team Omega. Team status on mission ready. Armament 6 Javelin missiles. Personnel required 9. Look at these ones. Target with an air asset. They could just go in there and shoot it. But like we're going to go with the risking the lives of 9 people. Let's go with that option. Okay, let's do this.
AIP has established which unit is closest to the enemy tank. Our commander can now begin to develop an operational plan for Team Omega. First, the commander uses AIP to assess the battlefield. Analyze the battlefield considering a striker vehicle and a platoon-sized unit. An automated terrain analysis model processes all existing geospatial intelligence to understand unit maneuverability. From here, AIP suggests the optimal route based on the unit's composition and the traversability of the terrain. Generate a route from Team Omega to the enemy equipment. Then, our commander validates the unit's supply of the munition needed to engage the enemy equipment. Next, our commander wants to disrupt enemy communications. This will allow ground forces to more safely maneuver and help ensure that enemy equipment stays in position. AIP automatically identifies and pairs all of the validated enemy communication nodes with a disruption capability. Assign jammers to each of the validated high-priority communications targets. Targets are paired and ready to execute. Our commander instructs AIP to stand by before sending orders.
In the same way that Palantir predicted which Afghan farmers were insurgents, they can also predict which regular people are involved with crime. Based on all the data that police forces have about people, they can draw up district or citywide maps of where crime is likely to occur. They can then suggest patrol routes where to station officers and even which people to arrest. These systems often do nothing to actually counteract the inherent bias in the data they're given. When police patrol more often in a given area, they find more crime and make more reports. That then gets fed into the system, which tells the police to invest more resources into that specific high crime area. With their easy to use system, a police officer could simply type someone's name in and learn a staggering amount of information about them. Palantir would tell them what their email address was, their phone number, their date of birth, and their address. With just a license plate number, it could look at footage from public CCTV and figure out specific locations you'd been over.
What the f-? Like because of Palantir collating all of the data that's out there, and guess who is right there doing all of the facial recognition technology through a company called Clearview? Peter Thiel. And so like he's probably integrating like all of the surveillance cameras all over a smart city somewhere, and it's just like, here, you, copper, go back to your car, type in like the details of this person, bring it up on your system, and we can watch where they've been going today. You walk back to the car because you pulled someone over and you're like, where you been today? I was at the shops and the library because I like reading books. Whoa. I have a sneaky suspicion that you have been nowhere near the library because I've actually seen footage of you over here. You want to try again, buddy? Like, this is next level control. And like, the argument is always there. Could make policing better. Could make the system safer. But like, let's be honest. We know how they really use this stuff. And it's not to protect and serve.
For a period of years, building up a complete pattern of movement. It could even link you to other people you spend time with and find out info on them as well.
Yeah,
this is an
crazy.
invaluable tool in the hands of someone looking to control people. Palantir has gotten its claws into every level of government. In the UK, the National Health Service recently signed a deal to hand over the entirety of their data, a treasure trove of medical records and patient info, to Palantir. And the laughable thing is that they don't get paid for this. In fact, it's the UK taxpayers that are paying Palantir $500 million to manage and
Yeah, I think
analyze
that's like one of the biggest scandals of this AI stuff, right? It's like Musk getting access to like all of the data in the government services in America, the federal bureaucracy in America. Taxpayers pay Palantir for them to provide services to the NHS, where it's the data that they're getting access to is worth all of the real money because it's improving their systems and they become more and more valuable, and like their systems become more perfected, making them like almost the only system to use. And so like, they should be paying to get access to the data.
Experts have described this as being one of the most valuable resources the UK had. The US had nothing to compare because of its separated private healthcare system. It's like Saudi Arabia paying a private company to take their oil off their hands. And now it's in Palantir's hands, along with all the confidential patient data that came along with it. It isn't just taking over the world, it already has. And now Palantir is coming out of the shadows with the IPO and their public contracts with big banks and corporations. All of Karp and Thiel's political theatrics are a smokescreen for their true place in the power structure. The maintenance and extension of the surveillance state is a bipartisan issue for them, one of the only things they agree on. Those in power, be they Democrats or Republicans, Labour or Conservatives, are always pushing it a little bit further. This is why Palantir has grown so quickly and will grow even larger over time. They fit right into the same mouldy old power structure, increasing its reach into people's lives. Meanwhile, they profit from conflict, chaos and fear. Even their name makes reference to this, Palantir. In The Lord of the Rings, the Palantir were magical orbs which could be used to see things.
Is this true? In Lord of the Rings, a Palantir is a magical crystal ball seeing stone. It lets you see far off events and places. You can communicate with someone else using another Palantir, but it's dangerous. What you can see can be manipulated, leading you to draw the wrong conclusions. Just ask Saruman. I'm sure they're fully aware of the irony in that.
Alex Karp insists that the company's role is to protect the Shire.
The way you dominate the future is you dominate the present. I want America to be American in 1,000 years.
And they often boast about all the tragedies they prevented over the years, but people never asked for their sinister protection. We don't even know the extent of how much freedom we've lost because of all of this.
This is the new age, and we don't have the tools to fight against this type of stuff. The only tool, really, to fight against this type of stuff is seizing the means of production. Like, these tools can be expropriated. That's it. You can't legislate against this stuff because nobody cares. You can't regulate this stuff because no one can keep up with the way it's moving. Literally the only thing you can do with this type of technology is to seize it.
Remember, I am, you are, we are a mystery.
I am on Patreon. Please follow the link in the description and sign up for free. We are trying to build a revolutionary community over there. So go, become a member for free and join the conversation. If you can contribute financially, that would help a lot.